Nanda. Start over? Okay. Professor Nanda, what relevance do you think American elections have for India?
India and US have had rocky relations. These two countries, the biggest democracies in the world, have so much in common, but unfortunately, in the last many years, at best, India-US relations have been proper. They have been primarily lukewarm, and occasionally they have been cold. And these elections might bring about a change. After the end of the Cold War, in the post-Cold War era, it is in the US and India's interest to work together. There are issues in Asia, issues in the world community, on which both of these countries have common interest. There is a common interest in having stability in Asia. There is a common interest in assisting with the preservation of the environment. There is a common interest in ensuring that development in Asian countries continues. And there is also an interest to see that India, as a major democracy and as one of the most populous countries in the world, makes an important contribution in the international arena that it has not done since the days of Gandhi and Nehru.
Mm-hmm. And how do you see Indo-American relationships changing if the Natural Law Party were to come to power in the United States?
Natural Law Party has a great deal of affinity with Indian values and a great deal of affinity with India's interests and India's role in the international arena. So I would assume that if Natural Law Party were to come in power, or a new regime in Washington, a new democratic government that does want to improve India-US relations, I see that on economic, on environmental, on developmental issues, on educational issues, there is a whole host of things that these two countries can do, not simply in exchanging information, not simply in international trade and investment, not simply in new scientific discoveries, because in India, there is a great deal of scientific talent, and the same kind of talent in the United States with technological scientific developments, both in India and in the United States and in the world community. There is more to explore than what has been done in the past to find a common interest between the United States and India, and a Natural Law Party victory would mean that there is a resonance in both administrations to find that common interest and to build upon it.
And how do you think the Natural Law Party will fare in the coming national elections?
It's hard to say how many votes it'll get. But what certainly has happened is that Natural Law Party's message is being conveyed. I know that in my university here and at the university next door, especially at the University of Colorado in Boulder, where John Hagelin came and spoke, and a very enthusiastic reception was given to him by students and faculty. And I have been teaching this year at the University of Colorado at Boulder, and some of my students were there at that meeting for John Hagelin, and they spoke very warmly and enthusiastically about his presentation. So I think the message is getting across. I think there is an awareness that the Natural Law Party stands for certain values, and especially in the foreign policy area, where its platform very clearly states that it would not continue the traditional approach of the United States in building arsenals all around the world, because the United States, unfortunately, has become the biggest arms seller in the whole world. And the Natural Law Party would like to change that. Instead of exporting arms, it would like to export information. And it has made it very clear in its platform that its focus will be to see that all over the world, people can be given information, technology, scientific developments that are taking place in order to change and transform their lives.
Do you see the concepts of meditation being accepted by mainstream America as suggested by the Natural Law Party?
I think there is a great deal of responsiveness on the part of the American public. The American public knows that if something is scientifically verified, if something has its practical consequences, that it would adopt, it would be willing to try it. And that I think in the past few years, not simply elites in the academia and in government and in industry and in almost any profession that we can think of, willing to accept or willing to try it. But I think more than that, even the common people have had a great deal of responsiveness to meditation. Unlike India, where meditation is a part of life, it is seen as a spiritual value that is to create kind of coherence and consciousness. In the United States, all those values would be seen as important. But I think the most important trend in the United States is and has been that if scientifically verifiable, verified knowledge is available, that people are willing to try. So my answer would be that the United States population is responsive to meditation.
And are there any special perspectives you could give us about the Natural Law Party that you consider important for an Indian audience?
I think the Indian audience knows about America as a country where there's a great deal of violence, as a country where the crime is rampant, as a country where family values today have reached a crisis point, and the fabric of society, many Indians feel in America, is at a breaking point. I think Natural Law Party is the one that has given a response to all these challenges. And from crime to violence to drugs, the focus is on prevention. And that focus on prevention is very helpful because whether it be at the present time budget crisis in the United States or trade deficit in the United States or crime in our streets in the United States, I think we have failed in the United States. One very basic, fundamental kind of element of human life, and that is to focus on preventive aspects. Natural Law Party is the one that has focused on prevention. And here also, another very important aspect of life to create harmony is what Natural Law Party has tried. It has said that it's not going to compete with other political parties, that it is willing to work with them, it is willing to accept the best in all of them, and to assist them in creating in this country a life full of harmony and human dignity, a life in which people would feel prosperity is something not simply that they can dream about, but that they can have, and that health and prosperity, economic prosperity and well-being can become an integral part of every person's life, because that is the potential that each individual has. And for the realization of that potential, I think Natural Law Party has made a great deal of stride in that direction. It's a young party. People are not familiar with it a whole lot. Its message still is getting around. But I think the initial few months since its inception have been months in which the message of the party is getting around, and is getting around in a very eloquent and articulate fashion by those who have been expressing the views of this party and proponents of the party in the national arena. Both the candidates are well known, they have traveled around the country, and finally it seems that the media has started to pay attention to them. So I feel a very bright future for the values that the Natural Party is proclaiming and for the message that the Natural Party is trying to bring to the attention of the public. I must say that it is these values that lie at the core of better India-United States relations. Both the Democratic and Republican Party has candidates and has supporters who feel that India-United States relations ought to improve. My prediction would be that in the mid-90s and on, U.S.-India relations will improve. It will probably take another year or two to understand each other and to be able to find points of common interest on which both countries, their governments, leaders ought to work together. It's, in education, in industry, in scientific exchanges, there is a whole host of issues on which India and the United States should work together. And I think that day is dawning where that is going to happen, because unfortunately, since India's independence in the last 47 years, it has not happened.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Nanda.
Thank you.